All right, so Josh Kaufman, right?
Yep.
Do you prefer Josh or Joshua?
42 years, every man I have ever met shortens it to Josh, and girls love to say the Joshua.
The Joshua.
Joshua.
I love it. Well, and I love your shirt too.
Food. Sweets.
The cupcake killer.
That just goes with being a foodie, I guess.
Yeah.
I just love food.
And before we get into all your other stuff, I want to talk about that thing you brought in the driveway there. Is it a 79, right? Scout?
79 SS2, one owner, original paint. I've kept it as original as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
The original owner is like 78, 79 years old now. Still keep in touch with him. His name is Ralph.
You still keep in touch with him?
I make sure I keep in touch with him.
Do you send him pictures and all that stuff?
I do. He doesn't even have a cell phone. He has a house line. His wife this is his fifth wife. She's about I think he said 10, 15 years younger. So she has a cell phone. So I send her pictures.
And then he gets them, and
he'll pick up the house phone and call me.
You and talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I remember one thing that I thought was great about that thing. We went for a ride. It was the cowboy hat holder.
Yeah, man. This guy is like old school cowboy. Like his family built the town in southwest Arizona. They have 350 acres. And so like the government would lease the post office land from him to put the post office and other properties from him. That's how deep into the culture they are there. And his dad had a bunch of scouts, and I think he said he was 17 or 16, and he was at the dealership while his dad was getting a service done on his Scout. And he wandered into the showroom and just for shits and giggles started to fill out a custom order form. And the dealer knew his dad because he'd done a lot of business there, and he was just like, yeah, give him that too. Then they threw it on the bill, and that's a custom ordered, one of one,
So yeah, what's that? What's the? I don't know what the yellow is. Do you know the name? I mean, or is it just yellow?
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah,
I don't.
So how did you find it?
So I don't have the Facebook or anything like that. People will send me like, hey, I saw this on Craigslist and thought of you, this and that.
Yeah.
One of my buddies sent that to me. He goes, hey, didn't you have an SS2 in college? And I said, well, I had a regular Scout that I made an SS2, and it's tough to find the real ones. And he sent me this listing, and he wanted a lot of money for it. And I called him. I said, look, I don't have the money. I just wanted to talk to you, say hello. I think your truck is awesome, and best of luck. And then I saw that the ad went away, and I reached out. I said, hey, congratulations on selling it. I just called it, like I said, it's a house line. Called him, congratulations on selling it. Hope all's well. He goes, well, I didn't sell it. I just get tired of dealing with assholes. And I was like, all right, sounds like a cool guy.
my kind of dude.
So I just used that as an opportunity to get to know him and chat a little bit. And he shared some stories about, taking his kids out and how he'd run the 350-acre property. And, he's big into 4x4 stuff and told me all the stuff that he had done to the rear end. And he had done a leaf over in the rear, but the front had a forward rake. And he had trashed the original seats. And I was like, well, look, if by any chance I end up with this, I promise to put it back to stock. I will hunt down original SS2 seats, and it'll live on as is.
And you did that, right?
And he loved that. And so over the next 3 months, I just kept in touch with him, and I gave him the price I could afford, and it was way less than he was asking. And he goes, listen, if you promise to keep in touch, send me pictures, and put it back to the way it was supposed to be, I'll sell it to you. And that's how I got it. And then I hunted down and found SS2 seats, because an SS2 seat is unique. There's no movement to the back, right? They don't collapse forward like a regular Scout seat. They're a fixed back seat.
I wonder why they did that.
And they're just a few inches shorter than a stock seat.
Okay.
So I had to find those and get them in there and get them recovered and put the suspension back to stock with the help of he's no longer on Instagram, but just a guy I met on Instagram out of Delaware. So I drove it to Delaware.
Oh, because you weren't living here at that time.
No, we had a 3-year stint in West Virginia.
Okay.
And we were staying there, so I drove to Delaware with it and spent a weekend with this guy and just scouted it up around town, and he helped me get the suspension back to where it should be. And that's it. It's a fun one, 345 4-speed, which a lot of those SS2s were automatics or the 4-cylinder. So it's a fun little combo.
Well, I can't believe that when I was talking the first time, I don't know why I thought that, but maybe I think you told me. But 77 was the most popular. They made the most that year. Is that right?
Most that year.
Okay, and then
they were trying to compete with Jeep.
Yeah,
and so they sold a ton right away. But the problem was, a Jeep had a hardtop and hard doors in the winter, and Scout only had the soft doors. So they were getting so many people turning them back in to dealerships, trading them in on hardtop, hard doors, that they needed a solution. So 78, there was a big drop off in numbers, but they had a third party make a hardtop and hard doors that you could buy with the SS2s at the dealership. But again, at that point, sales dropped off already, and 79 was the last year for them and the lowest production.
And so, because those certain parts, right, like the door skins and all that stuff, those are really hard to find. I mean, they make productions or reproductions.
So the door skins are plastic from the factory, and there's a guy in Canada that makes them out of fiberglass now, but you have to put in your order, and then when he gets enough, he'll make a set. So even the replacements are hard to get. But the plastic ones are, like I said, I'm trying to keep it as original as possible for Mr. Ralph. And
so you can keep sending the pictures.
I keep sending. He's a cool guy, man. And he's got 2 barns full of other stuff. He's like, if I ever come down there, he's like, go through the barns and see if you find anything else that you like.
Yeah. So all the other stuff you have is quite rare. I don't know where to start with, so I'm gonna leave it up to you because you got some cool shit, man. What do you want to start with?
We can go with the 51.
Okay,
the 51
Buick.
Land Rover.
Oh, the Land Rover. Okay.
Yeah, the Buick's a 54.
And then we're gonna back up into that story. Okay. All right.
So the 51 Land Rover. I've always been an old Land Rover guy. I had a 67 Series 2A as a daily driver while I was living in Florida, and the Series 1s are just. I mean, I like the original stuff, right? So Series 1, really low production for the U.S. Most that ended up in the U.S. came out of British Columbia, Canada, because, again, they were imported to British Columbia. Britain was the Land Rover world, right? And that was their answer to 4x4s to rebuild Europe after World War II. So they're all aluminum, and I've just always been kind of infatuated with them, but you never really see them. So as a kid, you never really saw one. And I like the stuff that you're not going to see at a red light or at a car show. Like, that's just what I like. So had the 67, and then when I was looking for another one, there's a guy out in California named Brett, and he had a handful of Series 1s, and he had taken this one up and down the coast on road trips. He'd been through Death Valley in it, so it was a driver, and that's what I like. I don't go for the overly restored, like, afraid to drive them quality vehicles. I want to be able to get in and go. I want the dogs to get in. I want to see the dings and the nicks and the character.
Yeah, you like it like that, yeah.
Yeah, like, I got scars, and so should my vehicles. So it's like, it is what it is, and I reached out to him. It wasn't something that he was actively selling, and I said, when you're ready, let me know. And my now wife, she kind of fell in love with Rovers. She was not a classic 4x4 girl before me, and she learned real quick how much fun that they could be, and she actually arranged with Brett to buy it and ship it in time for our wedding, and that was our wedding vehicle.
Without you knowing, right?
And a gift for me, yeah. So that one's a special one that probably won't be going anywhere.
And that's the one that I saw that it's the left-hand drive too, right?
It's a left-hand drive, yeah.
And you were saying something about the headlights too. It's the one of certain
51. The headlights came through the grill, and 48, 49, 50, they were behind the grill.
Okay.
And then 51 was that transition year where they were exposed, so they came through the grill. And then towards the end of 51 is where you saw the T-shaped grill, and they were always exposed. So it's just like a transition. Again, it's just another unique feature to a rare vehicle. And it's the shortest wheelbase, the 80-inch. It's just, it's smaller than a golf cart.
I mean, I said it. The thing's awesome, man.
But it's just cool. It's character that you can't find today.
Yeah. And what's the story with didn't you have like a CJ? Was it your first car? So what was the story with that one? So
I had a 79 CJ7 Renegade for 23 years, and it was, a daily for many, many years. And, when it needed a frame, it did a frame. It had 2 or 3 motors, and when the body was too rotten, I found another original paint body and did a body swap, and it was Alpine white with, Olympic white with the orange Renegade decals. And I was selling my 69 Toyota FJ40, and a guy saw the Renegade parked next to it, said, "Hey man, I really like that Renegade. What would you do?" And just through conversations and whatnot, I asked him what he had. He had a nice little car collection, but he was a Jeep guy. But he had this 54 Buick that he had built for his wife, and I showed my wife, and she just, "Oh my God, that Buick's awesome!" And she doesn't really get excited about a lot of stuff. So, just on a whim, I said, "Look, if you want the Jeep, give me the Buick. We'll do an even trade and be done with it." And then he just stopped communicating. I figured I offended him, or he just kind of ghosted me. And then about 6 weeks later, I get a text. He's like, "I can have a truck there Friday if you want to do this." And I was like, "Cool, let's do it." I've never had an old Buick like that, and she got excited, so that made me happy. And she did the Land Rover for me. I did the Buick for her. So that was a cool favor to return. And then,
now,
then I got it here, and it was kind of funny because my dad's 77. He's still up in the Northeast, and he came to visit, and he saw it, and his jaw dropped. And my dad's another one, doesn't show a lot of emotion. And first words out of his mouth was, his father had that exact Buick.
Oh, shit.
Same color combo.
Really?
And he just instantly went back to that time, and so he loves that thing too. But she hasn't driven it since I've had it. She's afraid to drive it. Won't even not even to the gas station and back or the grocery. So I'm actually working on putting together a little deal to have my FC150 built. Some awesome guys, Michael and Zach, out in Lebanon, are starting up a fabrication shop. And
cool.
A lot of guys in the Scout community may know them. They're Scout guys. But same thing. He came to the house to look at a Scout. He saw the Buick. He was like, "Oh, I had a 56, and I love that thing." And so I said, "Well, I'll tell you what.
Let's work out a deal.
Let's work something out so it's appreciated and driven, and I'm sure he'll take it to the next level and bag it and do whatever to it." But, for me, it was for my wife. She doesn't want to drive. She's too scared to drive it.
Why is she too scared? Is it a lot of power?
It's just a big,
heavy old car.
It's a big, heavy old car.
Yeah,
and,
old brakes, old everything.
Well, also, most smaller people have to get up on the steering wheel, and they move the seat close, and they can.
Yeah.
But you're in that Buick, you're sitting all the way back here, and it's tough to see over that hood. So I get it. The concept of it was amazing, and then when you get in it, it's cool, but I'm afraid to drive it. So.
Well, it's an interesting way for it to work out, right? To where then you finally, I guess using the Buick to fund or whatever your other stuff.
And that's her second favorite vehicle is that FC150.
Is it?
Another super rare one.
What's the favorite one?
The Rover.
The Rover.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
now I think there's probably whoever's watching this would probably be very interested to hear about it's the Midas, and it's an oddball. Right. So, because I think you just put it out for the first time not long ago. I didn't even know they existed, to be honest with you. So,
yeah. And when I was a kid, we were at the Atlantic City Auto Show, and they got the tables there, and everybody's got original literature and advertising and this. And I saw a page out of a magazine. It was in the plastic sheet to protect it.
How old were you?
Oh golly, I was probably 12, 13.
Okay, right.
Yeah. And I'd already learned about Scouts from my dad because my dad had one. And, I said, "What's this?" And the guy said, "Oh, those are Scout Midases. But this one had a lightning bolt up the side." And again, I'm an 81 baby, so I love the orange and yellow decals.
Yeah.
I love all those bright colors. And
the A-Team.
Oh, yeah. I'll take the A-Team all day. But I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know anything about it, and I'd always looked for it. I looked for it at the car shows. I never saw one, so it was always kind of my hunt. And when I would talk to people, if you ever see one with the lightning bolt, I want it. And I didn't know anything about it other than it was a Midas. And the historian, Jim, I can't think of his last name. I can look it up.
We'll go with Jim.
Well, I sent him the VIN after I had procured it, and he said, that's known as an oddball. He thinks that they were used for promotional use only. They don't have a count on how many Midas trucks were actually made. They think it's less than 200. And of that less than 200, how many were considered an oddball, which would be the lightning bolt?
Did they come up with that name, oddball, or is that just the name that the community came up with?
Jim, as the historian, would know that. I don't know that. But I love the name because I'm a bit of an oddball.
Yeah.
So I was like, it just made it that much more perfect for me.
It goes with the shorts.
Yeah, everything. Dare to be different, right? But, first they mock you and then they want to be.
Yeah, well, there you go. And so you're trying to source like a rear seat too, or like you're trying to source all the original parts for that thing too, right?
Same thing. Like I love resto mods. Like I think they're the best of both worlds. You have the character of the old with the reliability of the new. I get it and I love it. Not everybody can afford it, but I do love it. But there are just some features of these old vehicles that deserve to be kept original.
That one especially, I would think.
And that vehicle, so I've done as much research as I can on it, and it's really tough to find any information. But someone told me that they think mine was the actual one in the advertisement that I saw at that, and I have the ad. And
you have the ad that you saw?
I do, and I should have brought it. I didn't think of it, but.
Wait a minute. So you think the actual ad that you saw when you were a kid, you have it, and you think it was the truck that you have now?
I think it's the truck I have now, and the reason being is Jim thinks that this oddball was the only one to get a black plaid interior. And if you look closely at the shot of the Scout in the ad, it's got the black plaid interior.
How cool is that? I mean,
and
that can't happen
based
very
on
often.
what he said and then, the history of it, if it was a promotional truck, then it went to a dealership, and that's where I got mine from. It was the owner of the Denton International Harvester dealership. It was his personal truck.
And he had it since...
he had it since after they got it from the factory. So it's very plausible that it was used for the promotional shots and then went to him for promotion around town and at the dealership. And then he just kind of parked it. Another neat thing, though, is he had a 392 swapped into it. So
from the dealer.
It's again, the story I was told. So it has a dealer installed, which again, there's no the stories are fun, but it's not like I can prove.
Let's pretend that they're not stories and that's actually happened. I mean,
that's what I like. That's what I like to think. I mean, it's special to me. I really don't care what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
And so it's just neat to think that this guy got it and had one of his guys at the dealership put the bigger motor in, and I can just picture him doing it and then selling the other one as, oh no, this is 345 from the factory, when in fact it was the one from the other Scout. All the stuff that happened back in the day before computers and cameras.
Yeah.
But it's just, I can't wait. I'm doing some fuel injection to it just for the reliability, because I want my wife to be able to drive these. But I'll keep the original carb set up. I'll keep everything that was original to it.
And you don't repaint either. You like them just the way they
want them exactly how they were.
Dings, dents, a little bit of surface rust, you'd leave it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, do you know the story? I don't know if you saw the story about mine with my scratches and stuff. It kind of earned those scratches, and I could paint it if I wanted to, but I don't, because those scratches and all those things is part of the truck now. Part of the experience, the scars, whatever you want to call them. So I'm keeping them.
Look, you rewrite history, and it's you forget.
We don't want to forget.
I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget anything.
Will you also tell me, because you're from, I always forget what part of Jersey you're from, and I don't know if my friend will watch this or not, but his name's Billy. And you guys say water the same way. Water.
WOODER.
Yeah. And so are you South Jersey?
I'm South Jersey.
So when people say I'm from, or Jersey Shore or whatever, you're like, no, I'm more.
That's North Jersey.
You're more Pennsylvanian.
Right.
Is that right?
So my whole family's Philadelphia.
Okay.
And so the way New Jersey is along the coastline, MTV ruined it with that Jersey Shore show. And so I've lived in Florida. I've lived in Florida. I lived in West Virginia. I live here. And, when I first moved down to Florida, transferred college from Massachusetts down to Florida, people would say, where you're from? I'd say Jersey. It was instant that I was Jersey Shore. That's North Jersey. Those are the New Yorkers that migrate from the city to New Jersey. The Philadelphians that migrate from the city are South Jersey. So I'm Philly, but really I'm South Jersey. Yeah.
And you had because you first got into the Scouts too, because your dad had one in the year first one. Didn't you have it in high school or something?
Yeah, my dad had one. It's a fun story. I've always liked old cars, and so, working summers, working after school, this or that, he had been setting aside some money for me, and I was 16, and I found a 69 Camaro SS.
Hell yeah, man.
And it happened to be around the corner from my grandparents' house in Philly, and so, at that time he had a CJ7. And he says, all right, let's hop in. And I had the newspaper cut out because it was Auto Trader and a newspaper. And that's where you saw that. And that was it, right? And so I cut it out so I knew where it was. And I had it in there. And it was $9,900.
The Camaro?
The Camaro. And fully rebuilt drivetrain, this and that. I think it was 1994, 95 or something back when I did this. And we had the cash. And we head over the bridge. And we're heading up to my grandparents' house. And out of nowhere, my dad goes, "Scout!" And he just yells, "Scout!" And I pick my head up, and I go, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "There's a Scout back there." He makes an illegal U-turn, and we shoot back up, and there's a Scout on the corner, this little beer distribution plant. And so we get out. There's a little for sale sign in the windshield, and my dad has terrible eyesight, so I don't know how he saw it.
He saw the Scout, and then
he saw the Scout, and just happened to have the for sale sign. So pretty serendipitous. And we go in, we talk to the guys. The guys are like, "Oh yeah, the side streets, the tough bars to get to with the truck, we send the Scout. We load it up with the beer and the liquor, and we'll send the Scout, and that's the delivery vehicle. And we've had it since new." And $1,200 later, we came home with the Scout, and the drivetrain was great, but you could put your hand through the rear fender, you could put your hand through the rockers, and he drove a bus in Atlantic City, and the bus depot had a welder, and so he arranged for that guy to let me go to his house after school, and he would guide me and teach me to put the...
So did you learn how to weld?
So I learned how to weld back then, long time ago.
Do you still?
I haven't done it in so long. I'd probably
I was
have to
talking
relearn.
to Brent, on the last one of these, talking about, I wish I would have picked up some kind of a trade like that when I was younger. And just
They had already started shutting down the trades when I was coming up.
Yeah.
So it was like this guy taking me into his garage and doing that. Like
that's what you need, is like someone to kind of just walk you through it. And,
absolutely. It makes it more fun too.
Yeah.
Because you have a vested interest in the vehicle.
Yeah.
Now you have a vested interest in the fact that this guy's taking time out of his day to teach you. And I think that's kind of what solidifies the bond with these things also.
Absolutely.
I mean, the guys that you talk to, the fun part about these vehicles, all of them, it's these stories. How'd you get into it? It's why you want to talk to people.
Well, that's the whole premise of this whole thing I'm doing is each, whether it's your newer car or whatever, everyone's got this little story, and some are better than others. Like the story of your 79 out there. This dude had it from new, and the way you got it, and the way he still wants to hear about it. And so, I was even telling Brent on the last one too about this one. Like, I thought about selling it for a little bit, but if I did, I never wanted to see it again. So I was gonna not let anybody see it or buy it in Florida.
Right.
Like you could only buy it if I would never see it again, because it would be weird to see it again, right? I don't know, but I think pictures would be good because it'd be so far removed. I don't know.
I think he's also at a different stage of his life.
Yeah.
If we sell something and we're pretty conscious of it, and
yeah, that's true.
Many years of enjoyment were still left to be had, whereas for this gentleman, like, he wasn't cruising the 350 acres anymore in it, and he had to get his son-in-law to come and help him keep it running, and he was just, it was time.
I think you should send this to him or to his wife.
I don't know how. Yeah, I gotta send it to his wife, but I will. I'll share it.
I'm sure he'd love to hear the story.
I'm still waiting. He's gonna send me a cowboy hat.
You have to,
because I kept it on the dash, and I want him to put that. I want to put his hat, and I want him to write me a note, and I want to keep it with the Scout.
So, but that wasn't. I mean, he purchased that somewhere and installed it himself.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's not a dealer thing.
But who would put it? I mean, you'd think you just put the cowboy hat in your seat next to you, but to have like a little contraption.
If you've got someone ride, no top, no doors.
True. Yeah,
you're cruising at 45, right? That hat's not staying on that seat, so I get it. My wife makes fun of me because I like the brim in my hat nice and crisp. But, I'll pack a suitcase and we'll go, and I'll say, "Hold my hat," and I'll walk around with that hat through the airport, and I may wear it once on the trip, but I keep it nice, so I get it.
Yeah. And so didn't you say that, was that you were, that everybody called you the Scout Man or the guy with the Scout? Is that right? And is that what it was?
I feel like it's kind of just a Scout thing, like, because
when you were younger, right? When
I was younger, I was just, oh, you're the kid with the Scout.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay.
I had an Omaha Orange Scout rally, and nobody
Hard
else.
To miss. There goes Josh.
Yeah, nobody else had a Scout. The cops know you. The fire department knows you. Everybody knows you, whether you know them or not, just because of the vehicle. And it's funny because you got people that think you're showing off, or they want to label you as peacocking, right? And an attention, this and that. It's not. It's
just cool.
It's like you go back to the 80s, everything was bright colors.
Well, even your other, like, this was so cool about it. Like, even your daily or your wife's daily. I mean, you got a 7.3 Excursion too, right? Yep. I mean, you don't have like just a basic Tahoe. Even your daily is cool.
That's a fun story there too. Like, when we were gonna have our daughter, it was, I need a mom wagon. Like, it was, I need a big mom truck. She's always wanted to have that mom truck, and
not a minivan.
Not a minivan. She wanted a mom truck, and she was looking at Tahoes and Suburbans and Navigators, and I was just like, we're not doing one of those. I'm not an Escalade guy, and it's just not going to happen. The depreciation and all the BS that comes with it. I said, you pull up at line in school, and there's 40 of them.
And they're all black.
And they're all black or silver.
Yeah.
And it's just not us. It's not me. And she said, fine, I need a mom wagon. I said,
let me find you something. Let me look.
I said, I got you. And they were untouchable when I was a kid. That was the luxury vehicle. And I just remember, the doctor had one, and his wife drove it. And so I said, but if I'm getting one, it's going to have the 7.3, which was International Harvester's diesel for Ford. And 03 was the last year for that one. And I found this one, and I've had to do some work to get it where it is. But I surprised her on Christmas 5 years ago. Okay. It was a Christmas surprise for her when she came outside, and
was it on 37s when you got it for her?
It was on 37s. Had a bigger lift too. I took it down, replaced the rear suspension with a suspension out of an 08 Ford Super Duty, so it rides a lot softer and nicer, and about 12 inches longer in the rear than the stock Excursion rear end. So it's a fun truck.
It's a great little grocery getter, I guess.
Yeah, she's the only one.
Or Costco, whatever.
In the hospital, parking lot. You get all the nice cars in the employee lot, and then you've got that.
Yeah. Kind of sticks out like a turd in a punch bowl. Or
absolutely.
Right? So what is your fleet completed, or do you have any other, are you always on the hunt kind of when people send you stuff?
People send me stuff. I'm always looking. But
did we make any progress with that one guy? Remember, I sent that to you, or my buddy sent it to me. It was in the back. With the judge? Yeah, so
Judge down in Georgia.
Knows, there's how many were there? Was there 3 or 4 of them?
There's 4.
But
and
two
if you go back through Google Images, like I've had people researching this. If you go back through Google Images and you pull old images, there was like 10 or 12 at one point. So
did we find out who owns that property?
The local judge owns that property.
Did he ever get back to you? No, he's sitting there rotting, right? He probably doesn't know what he has, but I bet you that's all over the country, right? In some of those small towns where there's just people that they were probably worth $200 to $500, and they just parked them and said,
"I say the Ralphs are out there."
The Ralphs.
That's a Ralph.
I want to meet Ralph.
I'd love to meet Ralph. I've never met Ralph in person. And
you should FaceTime his wife.
His wife has an Android, and I have an iPhone.
So did you not meet face to face when you got it?
I have never bought a vehicle face to face. Everything I've had is
shipped sight unseen?
A referral and shipped sight unseen with photographs. That's the other thing with me. Like, I trust you until you give me a reason not to. And when I want something, I'm committed, and I'm just gonna. I just kind of have this expectation that it's probably not going to be as great as I think it is, and I just want it anyway.
And I would imagine, like, if it's being shipped to you, and you've never seen it, maybe pictures and things, but when it's like, I guess, pulling around the corner, coming in your driveway, the excitement must be so much more than going to look at it and digging underneath and doing all that stuff you do.
Yeah, and it's, again, like, the people that you deal with some of these, you can tell when it's a business, and you can tell when it was somebody that loved the vehicle, they've kept it original for this long, and they just want it to go to the right person. Those are very organic transactions.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the ones that I'm comfortable with.
Because he probably could have sold it to somebody else for more, but he would rather you have it, I guess.
That was Ralph, yeah.
Yeah, Ralph.
And now you've got, other ones that I've bought that, they're like, nope, top dollar. Like that Midas, I paid top dollar. I probably paid more than I should have, but I knew the next phone call made is going to buy it. And so I was like, I'm not even going to haggle.
So how did you find someone sent it to you?
It was sent to me by a buddy down in Texas.
Okay.
Who saw it on Craigslist.
And it was on Craigslist?
It was on Craigslist.
And did he know what it was? Or
he didn't. He knew it was a Scout. He knew it was a Midas just because the ad said so. But, most of those vanish because people repaint them, restore them, and they don't care about that
lightning bolt.
That lightning bolt, which it's not technically a lightning bolt. It's just what I call it because it's so close. But that's a factory airbrushed bolt.
It's not a sticker or
it's
decal.
Not a decal, right? They all had decals back. That's a factory airbrushed. And so it's really easy for somebody to sand that down and just paint over it. And that's why, let's say that there was 20 of them at some point. I doubt there, and Jim doubts that there's.
So what do you say? How many do you think there was left?
Well, again, there's no count on a Midas, let alone these oddballs. He thinks that it was part of an outfitter's package, and then the bolt was an oddball. And again, I hope I'm not misinterpreting his messages to me, but he thinks that there's maybe 77 of these outfitter packages, and then who knows how many oddballs, maybe less than 20, less whatever it is.
Do you know anybody who
he doesn't know how many would be on a Traveler versus a Scout 2. Now, me and my personal research, I've only found 6 Scout 2 oddballs. And that was just Google search after Google search.
Do you know where they are?
6. I know where one of them are. One of them is in Oklahoma, sitting in a shop, getting an LS swap.
Is it really?
And I found the shop, and I talked to someone at the shop.
Don't do that.
I don't know the owner.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the owner, and he wouldn't give me the owner's name. I know people in Oklahoma. I could probably take it further, but, let it be. The guy's doing what he wants with it. It's his car, truck, but it is original paint, and it's brown with a white top and the bolts, and it's awesome. Something about that just screams the era, and you're not going to pull up at a car show and see them.
Well, I think, especially Scout people would probably be surprised at what it is, but I think regular, so Mustang guy or whatever would just think that it was just a Scout too. So that's kind of cool that you saved it,
Yeah, no, I love it. And again, you go to the Scout shows. I mean, Harvester in the Holler, this and that. I've never seen one there.
Are you going this year?
I haven't bought tickets yet because last year I paid the money, I bought the tickets, made the plans, and then I had to work, and I did the same thing. I ended up in Utah for work, so
I got the tickets and I had to go out of town. I think my kid's got a soccer game. I don't know if I can go, but not the end of the world. But so the whole story with me when I had mine is like when I was in Florida, because I knew you were down there, I never saw another one.
Yeah, the
whole time I had it until I moved up here 3 years ago. And I met everybody here, and all of a sudden you see 40 at a time. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, and it was the same. Like I got to Florida I threw my hockey bag in the back. I had my clothes wrapped in a tarp, no top, no doors, and in my Scout, not that SS2, the one I converted, my 78, and made the 23-hour drive.
You drove that 23 hours
down to Florida. Moved in with my girlfriend at the time, and I would drive that back to South Jersey when semester ended. I did that for Christmas break. I did that for Easter break, and I did that in the summer for a couple of years.
So what happened to that one?
Was my daily driver. So I needed hurricane windows in my first house, and I had the Scout and I had a CJ7 at the time, and I had to raise the money, and I put them both up for sale. And the first one that sold paid for my windows, and the Scout was going in 2 phone calls. A guy in Iowa bought it for his daughter. So I thought, cool, it's going to go to a good home. The daughter's going to drive. It was my first car. It'll be her first car. And same thing, I keep in touch with people. And I think less than 2 months went by, or weeks went by, and I'm just keeping in touch with them, and she wrapped it around a telephone pole.
Oh.
So there was no buying it back. She was okay. Obviously, that was the first concern, but it was raining, and she fishtailed, and it just kind of slid off the road, and the telephone pole clipped it between the rear passenger tire and passenger door.
Damn.
But I had done a full roll cage in it, so it was good, but it was totaled. Yeah.
Yikes. You ever been into wrecking any of yours? Or no?
No. Thanks for jinxing me, though.
Yeah. Hey, is this wood? I think this is wood. It's not real pretend wood. You know, Brent, he got he hit some old lady right in the front, man, and he said he had a huge bruise on his chest. You know, the steering wheel is like right here, and ginormous. You know.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they were built to last, though.
Yeah, they sure were.
Rusty metal and all, they were built to last.
You got to get your tetanus shot before you get in one. Cool, man. So, how long you been here now? Was it 3? No.
Under 2 years.
2 years? Okay. Yeah. And you're going to build a garage for those things? Because right now they're just kind of... Outside.
I'm 42. I've never had a garage.
Get out of here, man.
My dad didn't have a garage. We never had a garage.
So when you were looking for a place that wasn't kind of like number one on your list, or was...
It was on the list, top 5, but
wife had the
school zone, no HOA.
Yeah. So you can park those cars where you want to.
Yeah, there were just other. I want over an acre.
Yeah.
But I wanted it in a neighborhood. I'm not a live on a farm kind of guy. So there was just other things that came before the garage, and then the house had a garage, but it was the house itself was really small and not configured well. So my wife wanted a nice living room and gave up the garage for the living room, and I said, I'll build a garage.
At some point, I'll get there.
Never had one, so I can wait a little longer.
Wow. That's cool, man.
But yeah, they're all functioning vehicles for me. So again,
it'd
be great to have a garage, but what's some weather going to do to patina? Nothing. Adds more patina.
It's just going to make it better.
Right.
So, because you said that the daily you have that excursion, so like if your wife's out and about and you got errands to run, you're taking...
Just hop in one of the yellow
Scout. Even when it's 100 degrees, I mean, whatever.
If it's close, I'll take the Rover.
Put your shorts on.
Shorts go on. Grab a set of Vans. I'm good to go, man.
I do like that. Those look pretty fresh, man.
These have had tons on them. But the beauty in Van, you toss them in the washing machine.
Or throw them in the trash and get some new ones because they're pretty cheap. I should probably get some new ones. I think I cut the grass in these. Well, that's awesome, man.
You're like Dorothy in your ruby red slippers there. You're making fun of my shorts.
Well, I was at my kid's soccer game, and I don't know what the stigma is with Vans, but this guy, he's like, I had you pegged for a California guy because of your Vans. And I'm like, no, I'm from Florida. I was like, we wear them down there too. Badass shoes. I guess they wear them in Jersey or Philly.
Oh, dude, everywhere. Come on, Vans.
So what else, man?
Well, that's it. You tell me. I mean, I was flattered that you even asked me to talk. I don't have much to say.
No, I think you're a very interesting person, and I think you got some very interesting cars too.
I appreciate that. No, I'm looking forward to hockey season. Still get out there and skate. So that's something, same thing. Toss the hockey bag in the back. You don't have to worry about anything.
We just watched, made my kids watch Miracle.
Oh, there you go.
It's a hell of a movie.
That's a great movie.
Tears in my eyes about that one.
I mean, you got to get them to watch Slapshot now.
That's a good one. Or The Mighty Ducks. Let's not forget about Gordon Gekko. Is it Not Gordon Gekko. Is it Gordon Gekko? No, that's from Wall Street.
He's with
Gordon Bombay.
Mikey Gerbils.
Gordon Bombay. That's the guy. Emilio Estevez is the hockey coach. It was amazing.
Yeah. And then now there's a show on Shoresy and Letterkenny, and their hockey shows also great shows.
Do you watch those? Yeah. What's it called? Shoresy?
Shoresy. Yeah. It's broadcast up in Canada, but you can get it on Hulu. It's great hockey show.
How about Goon? Have you seen Goon?
I have.
It's a great movie.
It's fun.
The Enforcer.
It's fun. It kills me seeing guys that can't skate playing hockey players.
I couldn't tell.
Like, you can tell who's an actor and shouldn't be on ice. Even you guys are, in video, and all right, guys, I just need you to take 4 steps, and then we'll make it look like you're the guy skating down the ice. Like, that makes me crazy. Like, you
can tell.
Oh, absolutely. It makes me nuts.
So
but Slapshot, all those guys were skating, they could play, and Mystery Alaska is another great little hockey movie.
I've heard of that one.
Good cast too, big names. Russell Crowe.
So where do you play?
Right now, over in Bellevue and over in Antioch.
Okay.
So there's a lot of rinks around here.
What position? Like, I don't know a thing about hockey. So position do you play?
I skate back on D.
It's back on D.
Yeah, I played offense until college, and then they were like, "You need to be back on D. You're fast. You're smaller guy. No, I'm tiny.
But dude. Are you the guy that?
No, I'm the little guy. I'm not
the little guy. You don't
do
the
thumper.
The checking.
I can hang, all day, but I'm not. That's not my job out there. You got guys 6'4" out there doing that. I'm 5'8". I'm a little guy.
Are you 5'8"?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you're 5. I think you're taller than that. Okay.
Tiny.
Maybe I'm shrinking.
I'm petite. I'm as wide as I am tall.
You are looking exceptionally diesel today, I would say.
Nah, but thank you.
You're welcome. You're still running too, right?
Yeah. I just want to be around for a long time for my daughter.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So
I do too.
That's it. Right.
That's why I quit the sauce.
That's a great first step.
Yeah. I was telling somebody the other day, they're asking me about it, and it's like before when I go to sleep and I kind of wake up with some kind of somewhat raging anxiety every night at the same time. And now it's like, close my eyes and they open again in the morning. It's great. Sleep awesome.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Throw on something funny that takes care of my anxiety.
Yeah.
Like that's my escape. It's comedy, laugh. There's so much to take serious in the world, and if I'm watching anything, documentary, television, if I'm feeling anxiety from life in any way, and we had a lot when my daughter was born, comedies. That's it.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite?
I have a lot of favorites.
What's that? Because I love movies. Let's go. Let's hear it.
Movie-wise?
Yeah.
Dude, there's so many.
There's so many of them? What's the most recent one that you watched that you love?
Oh, that's putting me on the spot. I
no pressure.
I probably have 20 that I keep on my iPad for when I travel. Just my go-tos or any one of those.
Okay.
I just love to laugh. And then TV shows. I mean, Seinfeld. You're never gonna not laugh if you watch Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Or Life in Pieces is a great one.
Okay.
Really funny show.
I don't know that one.
It's so Modern Family came out, and it's similar to Modern Family. It's Life in Pieces. It's 4 different family members, the piece of their life in the story, and then it all kind of comes together at the end. They did 3 seasons, and then COVID ruined it because they just went on hiatus and never came back. But what a great show that was. But
so I mean, yeah. So I
old Don Rickles stand up.
Oh, Don Rickles.
Well, you can't go wrong with that.
If you're talking stand up, Bill Burr.
Bill Burr's incredible.
That dude is great.
Tom Segura, he's probably.
Yeah, I went to college with Bert Kreischer.
Really?
I did.
All 9 years?
No, I was only there for 3. I think he was there for probably 5 or 6. This is a great story.
That Ryan Reynolds movie is based on his college career.
Yeah. So I think he was 3 or 4 years old. No, maybe 3, 2, something like that. But anyway, he doesn't know me, probably doesn't remember me, but I was in California like 2000, 2, 3, something like that. And so I'd been gone for a while. He'd been in LA doing his thing. And I was walking down the street and he was walking towards me. And I was like, yo, Bert, it's, I'm ATO from Florida State. What's up, man? And he don't remember who I was. And I'm trying to remember how he did this. But this was like before iPhone and all that stuff. But because he's a really funny guy. And he said, let me see your phone real quick. I got to remember how he did this. And he's like, hey, leave a really sexy voicemail to this girl. I was like, okay, all right. And so I was like, hey, this is Eric, and just checking, some shit like that, right?
Yeah.
And so I was, good to see you, whatever. He leaves. I go home, and the next morning I have a voicemail. I don't know how he did it. And the voicemail on my phone was me. So I check in the voicemail and I hear, hey, it's Eric and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know how he did it. He did some magic trick with my phone to make me leave a sexy voicemail to myself. But that's the kind of guy he is. He didn't have to do that. That's pretty funny.
He's, look, he's hysterical in the way he goes at it with his family and his daughters. But Tom Segura, his best friend, they do that two bears. Two bears in a cave or whatever. Segura is just so funny to me. His delivery, his writing style, right? He's hysterical. And, but back to Seinfeld, he did that riding in cars with celebrities.
Oh, that was a
comedians riding cars.
I love that show. I wish there was. They stopped, right? I wish there was more of it. But I love
that's
that.
just this
Exactly.
But it's in awesome cars. And
yeah, you take
so many people that you're interested in just how are you when you're off camera.
Yeah,
and that's them. So I dig that.
And I liked how he would pick like a car, I guess, that would suit that person. Yep. Like, this dude is crazy, so I'm going to get an Opel or I don't know, some other strange car. I thought that was great. Or if someone was like really fast and, they would pick a
little sports car.
Yeah. I think that was great.
Bill Burr was in that. I think he had a 442. I think he picked the 442 for Bill.
Okay.
But
yeah, that was a great one.
There's 6 seasons of that. It's a great show. But I mean, that's bring it back full circle. These vehicles, they all have stories.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, there's a vehicle in your story at some point.
Has anything crazy happened to you in yours? I don't know, just some wild. I'm sure there's plenty. Let's come on.
Yeah, there's tons of stories.
Well, let's hear them.
I mean, the only appropriate story would probably be.
You can tell me the inappropriate ones later.
Yeah. No, but I was 17. I was heading to a hockey tournament in my Scout. Again, bright Omaha orange, white rally stripe Scout. Just took the top off of it for summer. Heading to a hockey tournament, and there's a big intersection. And as I'm crossing the intersection, cop just locks up the brakes in front of me, blocks me. Another one shoots out behind me, guns drawn. Escort us out. We're on the ground with guns drawn.
What?
And, I'm just like, everybody knows me. Everybody knows my vehicle. My buddy's dad is chief of police in Atlantic City. Immediately I'm thinking he's messing with us. But when I see these guns and I hear their tone, I'm like, nobody's messing with us. Someone had robbed a Wawa with an orange pickup truck.
I was going to say Bronco, but
orange pickup truck.
Really?
And so because I just taken the top off the Scout, It looks like a pickup truck, and it was orange. And so anything orange, they were just out to get. And so this intersection was blocked. Now there's, 20, 30 cars in each at 5 lanes going into this intersection, and I'm still in the center on my stomach with my hands behind my head. My buddy's in there, and that was a long one to sort out, and a funny story, obviously today, but back then it wasn't too funny.
And you're like, well, if I would have stolen something, it probably would have fallen through the rust hole in the back.
Yeah. Well, I also probably wouldn't do it in a bright orange vehicle.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who's stealing stuff in that.
At 17?
That was 17.
But that was scary, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, a gun to your head.
Yeah, I've never had a gun pointed at me.
No, me either.
Well, yeah, you have.
Well, before that. Yeah, I've never had a gun. But yeah, that was quite the story. No, there's a lot of fun stories on these vehicles. I mean, meet people at red lights, and they all have a story, and some of them lead to celebrity interaction or whatnot. It's just everybody has a story. And now you joke about Broncos. What celebrity doesn't have a Bronco or a 4x4 right now? Mm-hmm. They all do.
They all do.
So it's there's brokers out there hunting for them, and there's brokers that look for these to put in music videos and TV shows and movies. So I've met a handful of them and had vehicles and TV shows and advertising and just lots of fun stuff when you drive them.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I always like when I take to the gas station. It's always always seems to be like the blue collar guy, right? That he's like, man, I had one of those in 1984, and man, I wish I wouldn't have sold it, or my dad had. I mean, it's just that's what they seem to be.
They're nostalgic,
back then. I think now they're a little bit pricier, and but back then, $500 truck or $1,000 truck,
Well, they were reliable.
Yeah,
and I mean, like for my dad, we're not getting a little sports car for the summers. You took the top off, you took the doors off. You had both, but it would still handle all the hockey gear. You could toss your surfboards in the back.
Not worry about it.
Yeah, you didn't have to worry about anything.
Do you have so since you never had a garage, I'm curious though, if you do get one, will you have like a hoist for your top?
Absolutely.
Because I have the top for that one, but it's in a different room, and it's not easy to do by yourself. I don't think it's impossible to do by yourself without a hoist, but it's just kind of a pain. So I just decided that if it's, too cold, I don't drive it. If it's going to rain, I don't drive it. I don't.
When you have multiples, that's the option.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories about my wife was we're in the Renegade, and my favorite question as someone who's had these as daily drivers is the nitwit that says, "What do you do when it rains?"
Get wet.
You get wet. What do you do when it rains?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to run. You're in the car. I'm driving it. You see I'm driving it. I'm not going to pull over and wait out the rain. You get
Under
wet.
a bridge, you got to get home.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So one of our very early dates, she wanted to go in the Jeep. We're in the Jeep. And she had said, well, what do we do if it rains? And I just laughed. I didn't even answer her. I laughed. And it was South Florida. And of course, you get 3 traffic lights down, and it's a storm.
Yeah.
And she got wet. And that was the best moment for me, because I said, didn't you have a question about this a little while ago?
This is what
and
happened.
She's just soaking wet.
She wasn't pissed, though. It was probably a nice moment, right?
It was a nice moment. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's one of my favorite memories with her. And, all these vehicles, now she doesn't want to get wet if she doesn't have to, obviously.
Yeah.
But
Just check the weather first before we go anywhere.
So, but when you get older, you have the options. But I'm still I live the lifestyle. If I get wet, I get wet.
Right.
But my job allows it because I work from home. So,
Yeah.
But if I'm going to a meeting, I'm
You're
not
not gonna.
I've probably been sweating. You guys will see this footage later. I've been sweating, but I drove over here, no top, no doors. It's 91 out. So fat guys sweat. That's what happens. Just like when it rains, you get wet. That's what happens.
That's what happens. Well, I got stuck in that one not too long ago, and I was stuck at a light, right? And there's a guy in his rolled up windows in his car, and he's looking at me, and I did this. I was like, he was laughing. I was like, I'm not gonna die. I'm just getting wet. It's all good.
And there's only so many clever answers that I can give people that ask me what happens.
Do you keep a poncho in there just in case, or no?
No. A Ziploc for my phone once we started to have phones. But
that's a good idea.
The first phone I had was that Nokia brick back in the day. And
did you play Snake on that?
No,
remember that game?
I've never been a game guy.
What?
No.
There's some good stuff on there. Okay. I used to play Snake. That was a great game.
Had the orange case for it, though, to match the Scout. And eventually carried a Ziploc around. And that was it. That was your waterproof system.
That's great. And so right now, if it rains just like at your house, it's just...
That's it.
It's fine.
I mean, to my knowledge... you guys don't get a lot of salt water in the area.
Salt water.
So it's going to get wet. It's going to dry.
Yeah.
So
that's a great attitude to have, man. That's awesome.
Look, everything in life passes.
Well, that's awesome. I love those stories. I appreciate you coming by.
I appreciate you having me.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
God, that's a mitt right there.
Yeah.